This is Trinont, and this is Path of Exile Necropolis. This is our slow playthrough. We are going to play Papercut Trin. Papercut Trin recently beat Act 8, and we are encroaching on Act 9. We're going to pick out those vault rewards for a second. That's from a prior playthrough. So, Solaris the Lunaris died. And now we get to go to the ominous Blood Aqueduct. If you remember, last time we were in Act 4, the Blood Aqueduct didn't have so much blood in it. In fact, I believe it was just called the Aqueduct. And the enemies were mostly vultures, blood element or water elementals, and what the other types were. And the zombies. The zombies are still there, but now we get blood-soaked fallen, which were from the dried lake, except less bloody. Bloodstained archers. But we also get the revenants. Revenants being the spider-like enemies, and I mentioned them in Act 4, but they are very dangerous. Generally kill them ASAP, and that has to do with with the fact that they will do one very nasty summon ability, where they summon a group of undead. Oh yeah, let me change my filter. I keep forgetting to do that. They summon a very nasty group of undead. The undead aren't the problem. The fact is that when the undead die, they leave some red markers on the ground that explode, and they corpse explode and can really destroy you. What are they called? Yeah, those things, see? And they can leave a pack of those down, and they hurt. So you gotta make sure to kill the revenants fast, and to stay away from them if you do. The blood-soaked fallen like to also leave corrupting blood explosions after they die. I don't know why the corpse... Oh, this is just a bestiary boss. Okay. This is not an enemy type native to this area. I feel like Melee's meta recently has been for two-handed melee. There hasn't been a lot of one-handed melee. That just has to do with that Melee's probably biggest weakness is it doesn't do that much damage. It can be pretty tanky, which is good because you're getting in melee range. Ultimately, the damage tends to fall off for melee compared to a lot of other builds in the game. Melee's not in the greatest spot. One of the reasons I guess this is not melee, this is projectile, but it's similar enough playstyle. Melee weapon builds. We'll keep that. Yeah, see those blood-soaked fallen leave a little bit of corrupting blood. You leveled, by the way. Now I gotta remember where I'm going with this silly skill tree. Aha, we were going for aura effect. Reservation matters a lot. So the enemy types are slightly new. You may think that this is just another... Act 9 is going to be another remix of the other acts. Like Act 8... Act 8 had a lot of similar areas, and Act 7 certainly did. See those red markers? They take a little bit to explode, but they hurt. I would say Act 9 is actually one of the most different acts from its original pairing counterpart. It starts off seeming like it won't be, other than, you know, a blood aqueduct certainly is different from a regular aqueduct. Though the layout's the same. Crimson Township. The layout is pretty similar in this case, like it's the linear aqueduct with the side areas having magic packs. Blood Aqueduct is actually one of the farming spots of PoE. Like if you want to repeat an area, which you can do, Blood Aqueduct is certainly the way to go. It used to be not only because it had a decent amount of magic packs and easy enough to kill monsters that appeared in nice dense clumps, but it also does drop a card called Humility, which, when you turn it in, gives you a very useful chest armor called Tabula Rasa. However, this card's rarity got increased, or nerfed, if you will. And now it's a much rarer find, so it's actually a little bit less useful to farm Blood Aqueducts unless you just want the experience. Personally, I wouldn't recommend it. I would just go on with the campaign. In my opinion, in the Tabula Rasa's main power is that it is a unique item that has no stats but 6 linked white sockets. And 6 links are so good that a Tabula Rasa can carry you into the endgame, especially if you're a spellcaster. Having a 6 link is no joke in this game. Links are very important for almost every build. However, I would honestly say that a 5 link with stats is almost as good as a 6 link Tabula Rasa, if not better sometimes. Because you do have to make up for the fact that Tabula Rasa has no statistical benefits to it, like no resist, no life. Sometimes having just stats in a 5 link is better. I would say a 4 link will not be better than Tabula though. So, Highgate's in trouble. The beast that we murdered has been exsanguinating and bleeding a little bit. In fact, if you look at the map, you can see the blood flowing out of the mountain from when we exploded its heart. And the blood is poisonous, so now they're kind of not in a great spot. I'm not sure how the plants are living at this rate, but whatever.
The dark ember remains nestled.
So, since, like, in order to get into the beast, we have to find some explosive concoctions. And then we gotta use the Dark Ember, find the Dark Ember, using the spirits of the 3 Malachi minions we murdered throughout this campaign. Ah, Jun. You may have noticed the orange exclamation mark. That is, Jun is a Forsaken Master. One of the Master Mission Givers, and you have to deal with a very involved minigame with her. We'll get to what she does when we get to her location. Taurus and Vanya want to are now treasure hunters and are planning on leaving, probably. Arasha, new character. Apparently Oyen, the leader of Highgate, and, is it Akara? She went insane and teamed up with a god and kidnapped Oyen, so we have to go save her. Akira, sorry, not Akira. Not Akira, Akira. Or Kira. So Kira, let me see what the quest text says. Kira's kidnapped Oyen and plans to sacrifice her to Garakhan, a Mariketh goddess. Kill Kira and save Oyen. If you ever want to know what a quest says, you can always just open up the quest menu with the U key by default and take a looky-loo. Doesn't really summarize the story that well, but it's a good way just to keep on track of what you're doing. Righto, accuracy rating, lightning res. Elemental damage with attack skills is useless, strength is almost good, so we'll keep it, maybe, why not. We're still on the lookout for a better sword. This one served us all the way back in somewhere like Act 4, so that's not good. Alright, and we'll wait a minute. Open prefix. Crit multi. This has attack speed. This has just as much, almost just as much attack speed. We might be able to salvage this. I'm going to try to craft on that. I don't think this is good. Has lightning res and chaos res, but I'm not convinced otherwise.
Anything you need, just
So everything else gets vendored. Alright, let's attempt getting physical damage again.
There'll be time for that soon enough.
In a slow playthrough like this, I like to upgrade my gear when I can. Let's give it a shot. 74 to 155. That's actually more damage, I think. 5k, 3k. Okay, finally, we got a huge upgrade. Let's just get a free link out of it. And I don't think we care about... No, we don't care about links, so just 1 red and 2 green. Perfect. Did it in 1 chromatic. And this cutlass will sit here out of pride, just for serving us so long, even though we would vendor it if we were actually being efficient. Okay. Oh yeah, and Tasuni has something to say. Tasuni and Arasha don't get along, but oh yeah, Tasuni's Kira's brother. But they both want, Arasha and Tasuni both want you to get the feather from Kira.
Who are you?
I should mention Tasuni was the original character that let you trade in divination cards. You had to go to Act 4 every time you wanted to turn in divination cards. That became easier once we might even have a full stack. We have some owned cards, though. Every time you got a full stack of divination cards and wanted to turn it in, you have to walk to Act 4 and go to Tasuni. Now you can just talk to Lily in your hideout and everything's fine. There used to be a character named Volley that you could put in your hideout. She was a prophecy character that I mentioned at one point, where she gives you prophecies that would be events that would trigger when you had one active. They're similar to the way omens work if we come across those later down the line. Well, anyways, I don't think there's anything more to say about this area, so we're going to go not into the Dried Lake or the mines. So in original Act 4... Oh yeah, the 3 AM stream, don't worry about that. That wasn't a slow playthrough or anything, it was only 30 minutes long. So you didn't really miss anything. So the original Act 4 had you go to the Dried Lake down here, and then into the mines, and then into the dreams. Act 9 is almost completely different. While we do go to the Ascent, an area that was at the end of Act 9, it's our first area, or at the end of Act 4, and it's our first area at the beginning of Act 9, except it's called the Descent, because we're not going up the area again, we're going down. I'd say this area actually is kind of difficult, mainly because it has a lot of chill enemies, and actually a lot of aggressive physical damage enemies. You can really suffer here. If you play the game with certain difficulty modifiers enabled, which you can do through the game's occasional hosted events, or sometimes self-made private leagues, which I haven't really mentioned, you can make the game harder. You're great, but we're not going to talk to you right now. You can make the game harder, and some of the difficulty, and that actually makes this area pretty rough. I guess we'll see.
Another day, another death.
But I think what it has to do with is the goat shamans and the amount of leaping goats. They kind of hit hard. Alright, back to the supply hub. So yeah, already the descent is deviating. Instead of going across the bridge, which is out now, we're going down the supply hoist to the desert. Well, the desert did feature in the Atlas of Worlds, the maps of the endgame that were originally in the game for quite some time as level biomes. They weren't integrated into the campaign until the acts 5 through 10 were added. And there's being frozen. These echoing shrines didn't help. So, a lot of the levels that are in Acts 5 through 10 are in-game levels that got repurposed to be campaign levels, though they have differences for sure. Like, there is a statement that Part 2 is just a remix of Acts 1 to 5, but it's really not as recycled as you'd think in terms of a first playthrough. You're not going to go through Acts 6 through 10 thinking, oh, it's just the same, especially with Act 9. I'd say Act 9 is extremely different. Let's see. But yeah, these Alpine Shamans are probably the most dangerous enemy here. I think there's like 3 floors. We go down 2 supply hoists and then we get to the desert. I watched a GDC conference where the desert talked about the level assets, and it turns out that the desert that we're going to actually shares the same or very similar level like assets as the this snow area. They just painted over a lot of the desert sand colors with just white snow colors and added some foliage and stuff. You're not going to notice it or really even be affected by it once you do notice it in this hearing that, but it's interesting how they definitely use all of that animal, I guess, that they skin. Devs seem to be pretty clever into reusing certain mechanics in ways that don't seem too rehashed. Because they are working on this game. It's not like they're just rehashing the same thing they made 10 years ago. No, it's just trying to make sure the things they make stick into the game. What's my accuracy now? 2519. I need to get that turned higher. So affected your life ever change from the horrible effect that this snow area is slightly similar to the desert area. Let's stay away from those crystals. That would murder us if we stood in that. Alright. Asteri Desert. So, already we got some new enemy types. We got Desiccated Mariketh, which are mummies. Rexes, which are like dinos. Scorpions. I don't think we've come across scorpions. Sand Serpents we've seen in Act 7. Very similar snake things. Scorpions, Rexes, and Rexpack Warriors. We are going to happily replace some of these Rexes. Why not? They're similar things, so Untainted Ape, Wild Chimeral. I'm gonna keep some of the other ones just to keep the theme of this. We don't need black scorpions. How about that? And Abyss. Keep some of this area in theme. Alright, so a quest popped up. Defeat the fortification guards. This is where Jonor Toy comes into play. The Asteri Desert's actually pretty crowded in quests. For one, Jonor Toy has her first master mission here always, at least in the non-ruthless mode. In addition, another 6 socket. In addition, the Stormblade's here, and there also is another quest that we have to do a precursor to. One of the few quests that you don't actually sequence break in this game. So, or one of the quests you have to go through prior quests to unlock. It's actually kind of convoluted. Normally quests here are very isolated. You don't have a giant quest chain unless it's optional. Optional quest chains aren't really like a thing in this game. Optional quests are usually one and done, right? Well, not in this particular one case for this entire playthrough. Alright, so those green icons on the mini-map are the Immortal Syndicate encounter. Two of them are doors. One of them is the Immortal Syndicate member, Leo Wolf of the Pits. Leo Wolf of the Pits will heal from the healing beams inside the fort. That's what the fortification encounter means. We have to destroy the healing beams first. Another friend's joined, Haku Warmaster. They don't say anything yet, because this is our first time seeing the Syndicate forever. But they'll start soon. Talk to Jun. Okay, hi Jun. What? No? No, I think we have to complete this encounter first. So we talk to Haku.
I choose an honorable death.
And oh boy, we got a complicated conspiracy board. So the Syndicate is, when you click on a defeated Syndicate member, you get 3 choices. Release them, nothing happens. Execute them, they rank up in the Syndicate. You'll see what the lore will. I'll explain that reasoning later. Or interrogate them, where they get tortured for information to fill up these little bars here, the information about the safe house, by a percent each turn, or however much it says. We're going to execute Haku. The higher rank they are, the more intel they give, and not to mention, it's not always execute you get bargain.
The red main treatment. Make a statement. So what do you want from me?
Actually moves to fortification. Sure.
Next time you see me, I'll be a new man with a new plan.
The other aspect of Immortal Syndicates is they drop these items with these veiled modifiers. You may notice these modifiers have these runic shifting glyph as an affix. Jun here will happily unveil these items. They have like magical artifact properties that the Immortal Syndicate knows about. And we absolutely will take Lightning and Chaos Res. And the thing about these veiled modifiers is once we unveil them, they are unlocked on our crafting bench and not simply a modifier on the item itself, though they are that too. And we've unlocked Lightning and Chaos Res on the crafting bench. So picking up veiled items and unveiling everything is super important, I would say. Attack and cast speed or crit? Let's do attack and cast speed. Or dex intelligence, actually. And the rest will wait. In the end game, there's 3 encounters per area. There's only 1 in the campaign per area, and they're not guaranteed from now on. But there's 3 other types of Jun missions, along with fortification. There's 3 other wings of the Syndicate. They all have leaders. It's probably the most convoluted system in the game, outside, like, Incursion's kind of close, but I'd say Syndicate probably has the most involved mechanics that still survived in the game. There were some League mechanics that were more complicated, but I think Betrayal survives as the most complicated core mechanic. If we talk to Jun in town...
Some of the members we have come across, well, they have come back from the dead.
So the big thing about the Immortal Syndicate is they are immortal, in a sense, where if you kill them, they just come back with all their sanity intact, no zombies included or anything. No zombification, just simply immortal. That's why we can execute them, and they can only be executed while another Syndicate member is around, because executing them ranks them up. The other member's like, oh, you died honorably, we'll give you a promotion. That's basically the logic, and... Is that a good Corsair sword? I don't think it is. Nah, okay. I don't think we're going to get a better sword.
Can we be of help?
And if the Syndicate members hate each other, they'll bargain or betray. So there's different dialogue options. There's always interrogate as one of the options, but then you have bargain, betray, or execute as the other option for this little conspiracy investigation. When you talk to a Syndicate member, they have different options that appear. Alright, back to the desert. So before we go to find the storm, we were going to find the Stormblade, which is somewhere around here. So that's one of 3 things done. The other thing is we got to find the Stormblade, and we have to do one other quest that doesn't actually pop up until you investigate it. There is a side zone here called the Oasis that in the original 3.0 release didn't even have a quest. They patched in a quest later down the line in 3.1. So there's a sandstorm to what looks like a zone entrance. And indeed, this area is blocked off by a sandstorm. And in order to complete this quest, not only do we have to talk to Sen, or else the quest won't advance, we have to complete a prior quest. Isn't that strange? Aha, Stygian Spire. We might get a Stygian Vice if we're lucky. Which is an item I talked about when we came across Abyss Jewels earlier. So this is getting spicy. Stygian Spire will pop out Abyssal Depths as long as it's around. And there's a Stygian Vice. One of the early ones. You usually don't see abysses or Stygian Spires in the campaign. So, but this league has that as an exception to the rule when you summon abyss enemies with the All Flame. So one of the rare instances of a campaign Stygian Vice. You only have to wait till the end game for that. Worm Scale Boots, please. Desert Brigadines, Armor and Evasion, so yeah. Alright, let's find a Sandstorm. Or not a Sandstorm, a Stormblade. There will be a artifact pedestal on the ground, and a quest exclamation mark, of course. Now, unfortunately, the Stormblade's kind of... I never can read this area too well. There is, in the north, there's always the entrance to the main quest route. It's always in between the... It's always like kind of in the middle north. That's not the only, but there's a lot of like tiny areas in between. Aha, here's the Stormblade. Stormweather chest. So we have a wave encounter where we fight some mummies. It just says defeat the mummies. They're not just mummified Marikath, they're mummies. Because this is a desert, you gotta have mummies in a desert. One thing I do like about this game is that the game isn't trying to copy-paste Diablo 2's quest biome progression. In more ARPGs than you think, more of these Diablo-likes, you start with a temperate forest of some sort, temperate climate area in Act 1, then you go in Act 2 to a desert, or afterwards, then you go to a swamp, then you go to the penultimate area, usually Hell. That's happened way more than you think in these games. Thankfully in this case, you know, there is a desert, but it only appeared in Act 9. In Act 2 was a jungle in this game, and Act 3 was a city, which I think is a cool shift in focus. Like, this game's its own. Now, that being said, Path of Exile 2 does seem to have a desert in Act 2, and I don't know what Act 3 might be. Maybe a swamp jungle area. Which is... I'm gonna say it, it's a little disappointing, but... yeah, it's not the end of the world. Alright, so I'm going to wager the foothills are up there. Now, we could go back to town, turn in the Stormblade, and progress the Desert Sand quest. However, I find it pretty efficient, and we do need to do, and I do want to do a little bit of efficiency here, because these acts have taken a while, and even with shortcuts. To go to the foothills first, and check the waypoint here, tag it if you will. Got Vol's Vanguards again. So yeah, this is the act where the centaurs actually do turn out to be real, the centaur bulls. Stone fragments wolves, we'll just leave this, well, we'll add, we'll replace the wolves. You know what a wolf is like, so... Hill Devils. So yeah, Vol's enemies are here too. In Act 9, we're going to the remnants of where the Empire mined the gems in the soul fight for the Empire. It wasn't just, they referred to it in Act 4 that this is where the mountain was the mining out encampment for, Sarn. And we're about to see that shortly. This is like the alternate route into the mountain that is more Empire haunted. So naturally we come across Vol's undead army. If we hug the right wall, we will come across a checkpoint very early on, and we're going to use that to work back. And that way we save the portal for the desert. Because otherwise we would have to probably be in the Oasis area long enough that the zone might reset, and that would be annoying. 30% move speed, that is... eek upgrade for us, so we are keeping this. And selling this. Keeping the Stygian Vice, because that will be useful for reasons. Keeping this jewel for reasons that I'll go into once we finish this area. Fire and Cold, you say? And Craftable Life option. Yeah, we'll keep that too. And the rest gets vendored. Taurus and Vanya are happy we gave them the Stormblade. And we do get a sword option for that, so... Biz damage... yeah, it's not good. Alright. And then we get a follow-up quest from Pataris and Vanya to find about Fastest Fortuna. Which is a calendar that's an optional quest that doesn't matter. However, Sen tells us about a deity, Shikari, queen of the land and sands, that's hiding in the Oasis. Taurus and Vanya use that Stormblade we got to make Bottled Storm, which will break the barrier to the sandstorm, blocking the Oasis. Hand-to-dandly, somebody put a portal right next to it. There we go. Easy. Alright. Well, these have all sorts of modifiers. We'll just go in. We don't have any way to adjust them. Ah, Einhar's here again.
Ready, Exile? It is time to hunt. Do not worry, little beast. We are friends now.
More smugglers' caches. One thing I want to point out is that for a long time we haven't been using my mana flask, and that's because once you have a source of mana regen, or mana leech especially, really mana leech as a melee character or an attack-based character, You really don't need mana flasks. You can usually sustain your mana pool pretty easily. There are other ways to mitigate mana costs. For instance, attack builds tend to not... Their attacks tend to cost a very low amount of mana. So what a lot of builds do is they find these crafts that reduce mana costs by a flat amount, like say by like 6 mana or something. And if you have a skill that only costs like say 20 mana to cast, you stack that minus mana cost and suddenly you're going from 20 to maybe down to 0 mana. Alright, here's an essence, sure. And we got Essence of Contempt. Oh, that's the physical damage one. Very nice. Mana is actually one of the big puzzle points in building a character in this game. You gotta have some way to sustain your spell casting. Mana Flask is like usually the worst solution, because it's not always up. It takes up a flash slot, and flash slots are very useful for other reasons. Like the utility flasks are so powerful in this game that you almost always want to have as many of them as possible. And not worry about mana flasks. Sometimes not even life flasks. But I tend to keep a life flask around because they, you know, heal me, and they're very powerful healing sources. Well, nothing much to say about the Oasis. It has a lot of fauna, various dinosaurs and skeletons. Not much lore to it. Alright. However, there is some lore piece here. A Forbidden Vault.
Exile. I fear I have not been able to keep your eyes.
So, Forbidden Vault is Jun's former organization, secret organization's location that got ransacked by the Syndicate. One of their own betrayed them and sold out to the secret Syndicate mastermind that's causing all the undead to, all the Immortal Syndicate people to stay immortal. The lore of the Forsaken Masters is probably the first instance in the game where they got rid of some old content in favor of adding a new storyline. So if you didn't play the original version of the game, you wouldn't know the original story necessarily without looking it up. But long story short, there was 8 Forsaken Masters originally, and they had various little mini games associated with them, much that were a little bit more tedious, and you had to do them, and they had daily quests you would do, and like real-time days, and they had these daily quests you would do, and doing them would level up their favor, and they had different levels of favor, and the higher level they were, the better crafting options they gave. In the Betrayal expansion in 3.5, much later down the line, because Forsaken Masters was the second expansion for the game. So way down the line in Betrayal, the Forsaken Masters have turned against you, the original ones, and now Jun is out to get vengeance on them and find out who's causing all the evil. And instead of the crafting bench being tied to the Forsaken Masters, they're tied to just various points of the campaign and the end game. You just unlock them, finding them out in the world. And the new Masters are the old mini-games that were expansions prior. Einhar, for instance, used to be an expansion. Now he's a master minigame that was reintroduced in 3.5. Same with Nico, and I want to say the Masters were Nico, Einhar, Alva? Yeah, those were the big 4. And Jun. There's another Master down the line, but they're already in the game, and we don't encounter them until the end game, so we don't talk about them yet. Alright, more reservation efficiency, please. And the other zone in the game is Sand Pit. Cool boss music. This is Shikari. Shikari, spoilers, is Sen's daughter. The daughter of Garakan and Sen. Shikari likes to do chaos damage. Has this tail swipe that makes you deal chaos damage but goes away if you move. Third of way through the fight, she'll burrow. And you don't have to not only you don't run past her, you actually have to chase her down and then she'll keep burrowing away. It's actually a very long phase. When you see this boss in endgame, it's actually kind of tedious because you can't just run all the way to the end. You have to wait for her to spawn and pop up. There's also quicksand. Not much to say about the enemies here, they're just scorpions. Alright, so there's 4 quicksand pools. Shikari likes to burrow. 3 quicksand pools, I guess. She also has a slam attack, that one hurts a bit. Partway through this fight, she does a multi-burrow leaping sand attack. We can still attack her during that. And then she'll burrow and have another ad phase. Because there wasn't enough ad phases already that took forever. I think after just a small period of time she'll come back into play. I don't think it takes I don't think there's any... I think it's just a timer, it's not like you have to wait on the monsters. And she's dead.
Daughter!
There we go. Big reveal.
Rest, my child. Be free from the torments of immortality. A mother's keen heart shall bleed.
And we get Shikari's soul.
It's hard to be proud of this one. Your own daughter.
So Shikari's soul is reduced poison damage, or poison damage mitigation. I don't really ever use her ability. I probably should when I come across chaos and chaos difficulties, but never really had to deal with it too much. Alright, we can leave. There's no way out other than just portaling or running back. Arasha gives us the skill point for killing Shikari. And now, we don't really care about any more of this node. We could take the Aura Mastery, but we don't really need to. I think if anything, I'm starting to care about accuracy. We're running low on accuracy nodes you can really take that are good. I guess we could just do Dexterity's accuracy bonus provides 3 instead of 2. That's another flat 100 accuracy doing that. Which isn't terrible, but could be better. Oh yeah, we can start taking Fortify nodes. Because we are guaranteed Fortified for the rest of the game. You could start taking life nodes, but I want to keep Precise Technique going. But I think I know where to go. Versatility. That's just more accuracy right there. And some life while we're at it. Not much other relevant nodes over here, though. Well, so it goes. Well, let's see. What other silly things can we do? That's not how you still fortify. What other fortify node? Are there only 2 fortify nodes on the tree? Wheels? I guess so. Strange. Well, since the Fortify doesn't really give direct damage, we're not going to bother with that. Instead, I am more than willing to go and grab versatility and some dexterity while we're at it. And we'll just vendor the rest of these.
Until next time.
And I kind of want to keep this. Actually, I know I don't. It's not good enough to wear, so... I think we're ready to head to the next part of the act, to the foothills. We have a mandatory quest coming up. And notice the foothills did reset, so we would have had to work back and it would have taken forever, so I think I made the right call. To the boiling lake, please. This enemy has grasping vines, which I think just get added on just by standing near it. Very annoying. Again, you can remove it just by teleporting or just moving, but... You can tell, by the way, when a Jund mission appears, because it will show up on the quest tracker even before you've encountered it. At least so far. I don't know if they've patched that yet. And that's a very useful way to farm Syndicate. One of the ways people get recipes early from Jund is they reload an area over and over, namely the foothills actually, and try to get Jund to appear there to unlock master missions. There's one of them is to unlock the unveil recipes from Jund. There are some very powerful unveil recipes that minus mana cost when I referenced is one of them. The other is if you get enough Syndicate resources to do the boss of the Syndicate, which takes a lot of farming, but you can still do it. There's a chance for the boss to drop a really good helmet, though I think that drop got nerfed either in rarity or it can only appear in higher levels, to the point where it's not worth it to farm anymore early on. So there's a Basilisk Acid, as you might gather from a Basilisk. Basilisks turn people into stone. These stone statues might be an indicator of that. Crafting recipe is always guarded by the Basilisk. The trick to the Basilisk is just to stay behind it. That way you don't look at it when it turns you into stone. It also has a Fire Breath, so just generally stay behind the Basilisk. It's not really a hard enemy. It is technically a mini-boss, but not much of one. And then all the statues break. Apparently the Basilisk was holding them statued. And nothing else left here. We can go back. And vendor some more things.
Until next time.
Unlike Act 8, you don't have to hold on to the quest item the entire act, like the Sun and Moon Orbs. You can just go to Sen and he'll carry them for you. Very kind of him. Now, so we take the Foothills waypoint again. We do have a mini quest here. It's actually very optional. It's Fastest Fortuna. All it gives is a regret point. Aha! Here's the other type of Syndicate mission, Intervention. You have to live and kill the enemies. Intervention is assassination attempts on you. Sometimes friends join in. They tend to join in when you're in the middle of a fight just to mess with, to gank you. We'll kill Chimeria. Any unranked syndicate members will have the execute option. Leo and Guff, eh? Sure.
Next time you see me, I'll be a new man with a new plan.
You got more unveiled items. A lot of people tend to unveil items out in the town and then drop them on the ground. I have trouble with this. Just my hoarding personality makes me want to keep the item and sell it in town. Movement speed and onslaught and kill. That could be good, but we won't be doing it right now. Onslaught's a slightly difficult to get, but very good buff of giving you increased attack, cast, and movement speed. It used to be a gem support you could get as early as Act. Oh, here's Boulderback. He's guarding the fastest Fortuna. It used to be a support gem you could get. It got replaced with a slightly worse support gem, I would say. So now you can only get it from gear in various means, or a flask that just gives onslaught, called a silver flask. I'm level 67. That's still over leveled as hell, because the campaign, actually, the final zone of it is level 67, though we will be going to a level 68 zone before we beat the game. Alright, the tunnel. I don't think we have any all... Oh, we have one. Alright, Wildwood Treants are a little scary. We have spiders here. Excuse you, I'm busy explaining the game. I think we'll replace the normal tarantulas with treants. The tunnel, as you might see, popped up with the Lord's Labyrinth quest. That means our Merciless Labyrinth requirement is here. There's one in Act 7, one in Act 8, one in Act 9, one in Act 10, and we're in the Act 9 one. And it is the return of the Death Roombas. The trial of Ascendancy here is always at the start of the tunnels. I'd say once we get to the quarry, I'll try some Necropolis crafting. Alright, Trial of Ascendancy, and we have Death Roomba. This Death Roomba gauntlet is a little interesting in that it has these 3 pairs that roam around. Okay, let's not get killed by these. Life flasks are very useful here. Soul of Her Sloth is also very nice in Labyrinth, because if you run out of flasks healing from traps, you can just stand still for a second and get your flask charges back. In some ways, I'm not a fan of passive charge gain, because it can lead to situations where the best strategy is just to stand still for a second and wait for your charges to come back. That to me always feels a little weird. It feels like it goes against the game's idea of refilling stuff based on killing enemies and not based on time. Alas, with the passive recharge gain and various other things, waiting on cooldowns sometimes comes into play. Or charges. Passive flask charge gain is actually one of the more powerful effects in this game, because you can keep using flasks even when you're not really supposed to. You may notice the treants have a little stat that says Empowered on them, Wild Empower. That's a leftover from something called Affliction, the expansion before this one. All it does is gives them various item find effects. I explained that before, so we don't need to go into it too much right now. who has Lightning Storm here? One of you do. There you are. I think our Golem buddy died. I also think we have enough aura effect or mana reservation to get another aura going. I should probably look into that. Maybe swap out Herald of Purity with a different skill. Or another 25% aura. Yeah, sometimes skills in this game have very interesting animations when they're sped up or slowed down, because all the skills in this game are very modular, so giving like increased speed to Spectral Throw can look very silly, we'll say. Just yeet, as was said. Alright, we're ready to go. Interesting, I didn't know there was an enchant to make Spectral Throw slow down less. Yeah, I could see that being interesting. Yeah, there's the way to modify. There's so many ways to modify projectiles in this game and other skills that it leads to like a lot of modular stuff. Like you can, and your character kind of can look silly doing it. Spell Echo and Multi Strike are examples where you attack like 3 times instead of 2, or 2 spells instead of 1. Your faster casting animation looks the same as the normal animation, just faster. So it just looks like a sped up kind of cartoon version sometimes. They're apparently changing that in Path of Exile 2, where animations look a little bit more in sync with the speed they're being cast. We'll see how that turns out. You can see that as early as like Quicksilver Flask, and high movement speed looks just like a power walk running, essentially. You don't like the band Power Walk? Is that what I'm hearing? Oh, you don't like the band NSYNC? Buns. I'll pick up some Goliath Greaves. So there is a waypoint in the quarry. It's a fairly important one, so we'll be hunting it down. It's usually kind of in the bottom area of the map. There it is. Crafting recipe too. Physical damage rank 3. Oh, we could have saved this, but oh well. It would have cost Chaos Orbs instead of Alteration Orbs, so I'm okay holding off.
Hello.
So, basically, there's this pustule that Doriani made, actually. The Val version of Malachi, to get into the Beast. And we'll be reopening that wound, that scar, with Sin's Alchemy. Oh yeah, we get a reward for fastest fortune, the Calendar of Fortune. And they're like, maybe we should just leave Highgate, and so I think they do later down the line.
Take care.
It's kind of an okay jewel, but we'll leave it be for funsies. Alright, so there's a few chores to do in the quarry. One, we have to kill Sen's wife. Or lover, I guess, Garakhan. Corrupting Blood enemies. This is where it's good to have a Corrupting Blood removal flask. Because we would have reached 10 stacks of Corrupting Blood for hitting those enemies 10 times. which builds up pretty fast, as you can see how fast we shoot with each little shard here. And 10 stacks of Corrupting Blood is kind of death in this game. Unless you have Mega Health Recovery or Corrupting Blood Removal, or Corrupting Blood Immunity, which are gettable stats. Alright, this is going to be the Sky Shrine here. Shrine of the Winds. The Shrine of the Winds can either be early onto the right side of the quarry or on the left side of the quarry. In this case, I usually go left first because the mandatory area is always on the top right. Anyways, Kira's here. Servant of Garakhan. Kira doesn't say anything to us. I guess she's just out for blood. And Garakhan, Queen of the Winds. Maybe they just didn't have voice acting at this point. Which, let's face it, is the more likely option. When Garakhan goes invisible, she will summon a Sandstorm. Sandstorms are like probably the biggest problem in this fight. Area Denial. She has a 3/ combo. She'll go invisible and try to swipe at us. Third of her health bar, she'll summon a big tornado, and Kira will come in and do her bleedy stabs. At half health, Kira leaves. Garakhan comes back in. Garakhan also has a nasty dash move. That move. You just stand out of the way, easy enough. The big problem with Garakhan is avoiding the tornadoes, I feel. And if you can do that, you're fine. Kira's dead now, and Garakhan's in her final phase. And you can see the arena gets a lot more denied, as tornadoes are just everywhere now. And from Kira's corpse is the Sakima Feather. And we get an interesting thing where we get a choice that doesn't matter.
For this ugly world, it shames me to know the horrors wrought by our hand.
And
Well, that's one way to end a marriage.
Garakhan has a pretty decent effect. If you want to reduce effective shock is actually a pretty powerful stat. I tend to try to get reduced effective shock on other stats because I just like Raslotha so much, because you don't really have easy access to Flask Gain as a Flask Gain in this game. Like, this is just a rare stat to get. Garakhan is reduced effective shock is, I feel, a little easier to acquire. So, I don't know if this is any good, but it might be. We have a quest that's interesting in that it doesn't actually matter. We can turn in the Sakima Feather to Tasuni or Arasha. So story-wise, Tasuni will open up Highgate and try a new place or whatever, but at what cost? Versus Arasha closes Highgate down and makes it only for the Maraketh, and that might turn out bad too. I generally give the feather to Arasha, not because of story reasons, but because she's closer to the vendors and it's just easier. There's actually no benefit to picking one character over the other than that little bit of speed. There's no story choice. I get the feeling it was going to be like the Bandit quest where there was going to be a story choice, like a permanent buff or something, but they just went with a skill point, so here we are. All-Flame Member of Anarchy. Devoted to Tangmazu. These guys are always devoted to a god of some sort, and Tangmazu is an interesting one. That would be the Delirium god that we don't actually fight in the campaign. Or really fight ever. You only encounter him. It's a very interesting thing. I don't see anything here worth picking up, so... Again, top right leads us to where we need to go, so we're gonna work that way. The quarry actually is deceptively difficult, I find. There's definitely a few packs of monsters here that can really just bomb you with like fire bombs and stuff. The other thing about Quarry is they had to balance it a lot of times every league because it was late in the game. So what people would do is when they would farm the Quarry instead of farming maps, because the Quarry has very limited event spawn points. So a lot of people would run the quarry and just force events and try to randomly find the league mechanic, whatever it would be, that league here, and just do low-level farming strats in the quarry instead of the map, which is in the end game, where it's just where the devs want players to be mostly. Quarry eventually got nerfed over time as a result of that. Alright, the Finery has interesting enemies. It has skeletons. It also has the undying enemies from Sarn, though they're slightly different here. The laborers shoot lightning balls that just stand still and shock you. Well, they summon ice. Yeah, they have lightning, ball lightning, and then glacial hammer and ice shot ballista. And then Undying Grapplers have Discharge. Since we've seen these enemies in Act 3, we're going to replace them with the Wildwood Beasts. And the Embers of Anarchy. I mean, you've seen skeletons. We'll replace the Poachers with them. I just want to keep these All Flames out of my inventory, frankly. Refinery's kind of an annoying layout, I find. But yeah, you can see the poachers leaving that ball lightning on the ground. The nameless burrowers, the nameless creatures are from the Affliction League that was before Necropolis. Nameless burrower is actually pretty nasty in that they burrow if you're away from them, but if you get close, they have a corrupting blood pool in front of them. It's kind of nasty, actually. There's actually some very nasty wildwood creatures. Oh, my spirit's spent. Maybe I should consider mana leeching a little bit. The refinery's lightning themed. I guess they were using a lot of electricity to fuel the refining of the sulfite that they had to mine. Sulfite in the game's lore-wise is very toxic. One of the reasons the revolt happened is they didn't like sending people to the death mines of horrible disease, horrible toxicity. Also annoying is if you're not in a doorway, sometimes the game doesn't show what's behind it. The overhead collision includes it a little bit. A little frustrating, that. These enemies are primal empowered. That gives them more crit chance and item quantity, I think, or currency. They're more likely to drop currency. But they're not so empowered that they're going to notice that too much. They also have damage reduction, which is actually more of a problematic stat than increased life. Because damage reduction means we do less damage, and if we do less damage, we leech less life and mana. Whereas if they had more life, we would do the same amount of damage and leech as much life and mana as we normally do. So damage reduction is actually a problematic stat for leech builds if they're not prepared for doing tons of damage. One of the more valuable stats is gain on hit, life and mana gain on hit as a result. You can attack really fast and it doesn't matter how much damage you're doing, it just matters how much speed, how fast your attacks are per attack to gain your stills back. It'd actually be pretty good for Lancing Steel, because we attack in a lot of small bursts. We could get our mana back ASAP if we had a mana gain on hit. There is one mana gain on a hit node in the tree. I was tempted to get it, but it didn't seem necessary just yet. Are we level 68 yet? Yes, we are. Already a higher level than the campaign gets. Again, there is one area we'll be doing this level 68 before we embark into the end game. Spoilers, I guess, it's the final labyrinth, which I guess is kind of designed to be done either before or after the end game, but there's a very strong reason to do it before beating the story mode, even though it's a higher level. You can see that if we walk into the lightning beams, it slows us. It's a little annoying that way. Adis is always behind these two, or the boss, sorry, which I already said his name. It's behind this steel doorway. It locks in, and we come across General Adis. General Adis has a lot of health. Very tanky enemy. No phases, though. Though at a certain health threshold, he will, he does an earthquake move. At a certain health threshold, he does this lightning charge move. And his earthquake becomes a lightning charge, and it's really annoying. You have to stand out of it, because it has reverberations. The really annoying part of this fight is the lightning beams. If you're not ready for them, they not only degenerate your health, or deal damage over time, but the biggest thing is they slow you. In Ruthless, one of the optional game modes, you don't really get movement skills, and that makes this fight really tricky, because you have to slowly walk away from Adis. In Ruthless Sensa, you tend to have harder resist problems and you do less damage, and Adis has already a lot of health, and it's just a time. But Adis is dead, so we can continue. Get the Charthan powder.
How I miss your opium dens.
Duelist, you don't have to tell us about your opium addiction, please. Who's the judge, really? Alright, we'll pick these up for fodder. And there's no exit, so Town Portal. The game expects you to Town Portal almost every other area at this point. So again, Arasha gets the Sakima Feather, which we can fit just fine. Because I don't care about decisions, I just care about getting the quickest reward. Like an evil person, I guess. This might be an upgrade. We'll keep it. It's my chance to hit. Oh, my accuracy's falling off. Might need to get precision soon. Sin will happily take the Charthan powder from us. In between a Basilisk Acid and a Charthan powder, we get to go into the belly of the beast. Which is the one returning area in Act 9 outside of the Blood Aqueduct and the Ascent, or in the Descent, I guess.
Until next time.
I'm gonna keep these around just as a reminder of, because these actually could be useful if I want to shuffle my gear around a little bit later. Which I will, to be fair. There's a decent amount of items I need. Alright. Grab our scrolls. Back to the quarry. And there's no real more quests anymore here, so it's just the sun.
Stand amidst the coagulating remnants of my creation.
And now we are here to kill the beast finally and get the last little MacGuffin from him. From it. Yep, that's fine. So if you thought the belly of the beast, a giant flesh cave, couldn't be any grosser, how about a rotting flesh cave, you know? The eyes are cataracted over and not moving. No more hands popping out of the ground. Enemies are still here, they're just more gross. There are some new enemy types here, in addition to the ones we found before, the Ophidians and the Gut Spikers and those things. The eye spawners, eye hatcheries. You do want bleed removal in this area because of the Gut Spikers. We also have Carnage Pillars, I think they're called. And they inflict, I want to say they inflict corrupting blood is their gimmick. And the Revenants are back. How fun. Burning ground on death, no thank you. The music is still good as always. I do find this area hard to navigate. Always end up in dead ends. But like the other acts, the final zones of the acts don't have much quest, it's just a straight gauntlet to the end. I don't think there's even any waypoints from now on. You just have to go straight in. We have an essence here. So, yeah, unfortunately, the Belly of the Beast Floor 1 has, in Act 9, has a lot of dead ends. And a lot of long paths. The floor below this one, there's not two floors of Belly of the Beast technically, it's the Belly of the Beast and something else. There is a mini-boss here, or a unique monster at least, called Droolmaw, I think. Not really a fight that I remember. There was one of those enemies, the Carnage Pillars. I think all they do is they generate corrupting blood on you. Could be wrong about that. Oh no, they cast Blight and Wither on you. The Rotting Core, doesn't that sound nice? And you may notice there's a lot of enemy types here, and some of them don't look like beast enemies. Chevron, Doidre, Malagaro. Oh, do we have... The Rotting Core is actually a pretty interesting zone. It's going to be more like 3 zones, or I guess 4. Starts off as Belly of the Beast, but there's going to be a surprise twist at the end. In some ways it really is like the Harvest from Act 4, in that, well, we will have to defeat 3 mini-bosses before we get to the boss. Alright, let's just do some detonations while we're here. Brog is actually worth doing, I feel. Let's just detonate it early.
Stay safe.
The Black Core. So yeah, the Heart of the Beast still has its dead hearts, but now there's something new here. One final trick from Malachi.
Right. Yes, it would appear our old friend Malachi has one final trick to play. A thaumaturgical wound to the heart.
Long story short, Chevron, Malagar, and Doidre are stubborn and don't want to die. A third time, I guess, and now we have even more murder of that trio. How about that?
The souls of these 3 continue to surprise us.
Alright, so we have to go through three areas, each guarded by one of the 3 bosses we encountered through Acts 6 through 8. However, real quick, I'm going to go AFK, and which hopefully will be cut out on the highlight video on the VOD, but until then, I'll be right back. Alright, we are back, and we have the gauntlet to do. So, let's start with Doidre's Despair. So we're going into the remnants of each boss's like theme. Doidre's all curse oriented, and we have a corpse explode enemy here. With Ice Prison even. Very annoying. Doidre has 3 types of monoliths. Again, she loves her 3 curses, be it Enfeeble, Temporal Chains, or Vulnerability. Red Vulnerability, yellow and green Enfeeble, and purple Temporal Chains. She'll also appear periodically to summon her little zombie friends, as you saw. She'll just pop in and out, saying hi. You don't really have to kill the monoliths, you can just run past them. They're kind of more tedious to kill than not. So I tend to just leave them be. Oh, there was a corpse here. Let's grab it real quick. 5-link possibilities here. Yeah, you can see Doidre summon zombies on occasion. You got some blood elementals, some sufferings, Doidre's Ichor. Just more blood elemental things, and here's Doidre herself. Looks a lot like she did in Act 8. She'll summon 3 totems, and they cast pulsing curse debuffs on you. Her big thing, though, is that partway through the fight, she'll summon all 3 at once. That will keep doing the debuff, but more importantly, she'll scream. You hide behind the totems to avoid this AoE line of sight. She'll transform into Act 4 Doidre as well, in her little pot that her little bowl she's in. She'll still spit out projectiles as needed, and another scream. And you know, just hide behind the cursed monoliths and you're good. You can actually still attack her when she's doing her scream move. So there's not too much reason. So if you have a minion build or something, you can just get them to target Doidre. If you have a screen clearing build, though, it can be a kind of a annoying fight because she'll do her scream and you won't have a totem to hide behind. If you have no way to turn off your damage. That's 1 down. Now we have Malagaro and Chevron. Malagaro has a Chamber of Sins looking area, but you can still see the influence of the beast here, so it's like a weird nightmare realm, as the nightmare beast tends to enjoy. Or tends to be like. Spiders. Malagaro apparently loves spiders, and that's why there's so many of them. I guess that's the idea. Oh, Gemstone Sword. That could be something. We'll pick up the amulet, pick up jewelry, pick up relevant weapons, and pick up relevant armor. That's my current strat on picking up rares. Like Hydra Scale Boots or Armor and Evasion, we'll pick that up. You get a lot of chaos damage fire spitters here, and they're actually kind of annoying. You also get these blade spinning blades, which are actually similar to Val Blade Vortex, if I recall. I think they do physical damage hits over time, and they don't do damage over time. They actually just tick you for damage. Like you take little bursts of damage from them. They count as hits. There is a difference between hits and damage over time effects, especially on proccing effects like life and mana gained on hit and leech don't work with damage over time. However, and only hits will work with that. Alright, Malagaro though. Malagaro works a lot like Act 7 Malagaro. He will do an attack where he summons a bunch of daggers from the ground. He also has Dagger Boomerang. The daggers from the ground actually hurt a decent bit, so you want to avoid them. I think they do chaos damage. Halfway through the fight or so, They have a more deceptive AoE than you'd think, too. He'll disappear and summon a lot of clones, and it's hard to tell which one's the real one. Once the daggers start coming back in play, that means the real one's somewhere here. I think that's him. There we go. And probably the most deadly boss of Act 9. Though it could be said the final boss is a little harder. Chevron. Chevron is vicious.
Practice makes perfect.
Basically, she does a lot of lightning damage, and if you don't have capped lightning res, you will find this next fight very difficult. Even if you do have capped lightning res, you'll find this fight fairly spicy. So yeah, she's lightning themed, as she usually is. A lot of lightning constructs. Chevron's Vision, they're called for some reason. She'll periodically appear and have Brutus's ghost slam you. And I think she summons little lightning tornadoes at you. In an IGN review of this game, they basically said, look at this fight, how are you supposed to do this fight without getting hit? The answer is you get hit a little bit, but you still dodge. Chevron's very different from her normal part, actually. So she has Brutus's slam. She will spew these out, and those hurt a lot if you get hit by them. That lightning orb, that super huge lightning orb, also hurts a lot. She still does her Act 4 book explosion. I don't know where she is, actually. Oh, there she is. But, like, if I stand in those, like, you can see how much they hit my health for, and that's a capped lightning res. So imagine a new player doing this and getting pegged by those. And the only reason they're not all targeting me is because I have my Herald of Purity minions getting in the way. Ironically, Brutus's slam doesn't hit that hard, and I think I evaded it. Alright. Before we do the final area, I'm going to drop off some of this loot, because we won't have a chance to turn in loot for a little bit. Scava. I wonder if this is actually more damage. No, not quite. Pretty close, though. Alright, anyways. Vendor. Alright, let's put up the keepers no matter what. Vendor. This could be a keeper. Alright, now we go back.
At last, our trio joins to become one.
And we fight the Depraved Trinity. I wonder what that'll look like. So, Malagaro, Chevron, and Doidre will merge into a mishmash of this. Behold the Depraved Trinity. Pretty gross looking enemy, if you ask me. Depraved Trinity has this lightning spiral attack, Doidra's little balls of goop. Basically a lot of area attacks. You have Doidra's little curse goop as well, that's a vulnerability stack. I think she'll drop purple and green as well, or maybe just red. Playing Malachi's theme again, no remix music alas. Every third of a health bar, Brave Trinity will go into the blood fountain and summon some scorpion things. And then those lightning orbs will stay for quite some time. Not the whole duration of the fight, but long enough. So you do have to watch out for that part. So there's more area denial as the fight goes on, essentially. Let's not stand into those explosions.
Good luck. That was the last time I'll have to sully myself with those three.
And we get spat out of the beast in this little blood blowhole here. Pretty gross. We must smell like just absolute awfulness right now. Looks like a kite shield could be good. Tower shield. Alright, talk to Lily.
You're questioning me, the great sea mistress Lily Roth, about how she so happened to find you failing at drowning on some god-forsaken fleshy piece of land. Well, I suppose you...
So Lily found us thanks to Waylem, who decided to team up with Lily after all. And Waylem was thinking of not joining Lily because, you know, Waylem was a zombie. And it was like, how can Lily ever get along with me? And then Waylem decided against it. Now the Black Crust is here and able to dock in front of the Blood Sea that we're at. I don't know how they're going to get out though, but whatever. Maybe it'll just go in reverse or something. Because they do seem up against the wall, and I don't think sailing ships are able to go in reverse that easily. Anyways.
I ain't gonna lie to you, friend. You look like actual shite.
Yeah, I probably look pretty awful right now.
Come see.
Alright, to Oriath. And no preamble. Who knows how tides work in Blood Hell? True. No one can say. So no preamble to Act 10's town, no intro area. We're just straight at Oriath docks. This is probably my least favorite town in the game. Not necessarily because of theme or whatever, but because it is crowded to hell and back. There will be so many NPCs here that are just like in the way. So you try to click your stash, you actually click on Divine. Oh, we don't need to talk to her yet, but I'll explain her in the next session. But we're in Act 10. And, before we go... Yeah, and there's even worse scenario with this town later on. We will go... This could be okay, actually, too. We're actually going to go to the Necropolis and finish off crafting and talk about Act 9. So yeah, Act 9. What to say about it? Not much. It's not too long of an act, but it does have a lot of differences from it has a lot of differences from Act 4. Act 4 wasn't that long either, but you can see how, like, we basically did nothing in the mines. We did none of Calum's or Duresso's dreams. We went through a desert, went through a mountainside, and we did do the Belly of the Beast again, but it was undead. I think it's cool how different Act 9 is from the other, from Part 1's Act 4. We're just going to do some Necropolis crafting now. Finish this off. Plus one explicit modifier. Do we have the gem link thing? Oh, we do. Alright. We're gonna do this real quick. That's 2, 3, 4. And then 5. And we will get a body armor. Oh wait, hang on. Let's give stats to this. We want life modifiers. Do we not? Elemental. Fire. Cold. Lightning. And I don't know what else we can craft on this. Let's see if we have any other fun stuff. Let's get rid of the cannot be consumed things too. And while we're at it, yeah, that's about it. Alright. Now let's do Fizz camp. Let's do Fizz as scarcer as well. You don't want Fizz reflected stuff on this. Oh, and mana is scarcer as well. I don't think you can get speed on chest armor, so. Alright, and one explicit. How about two? No, just one. Alright. So we craft, plus one explicit. Armor, body armor, armor and evasion, and full dragon skill.
May the tides of Soagoth wash away your anguish and aid this soldier, so that you may house their valiant soul.
Life Cold Lightning, you know what? For a 5-link, we'll absolutely respect this. Open suffix too for resistances, so lower life, but that'll be our next building profit. Oh, another socket thing. Now we want a sword, maybe. I think swords are a weak point right now. Amulet could be as well. We're gonna craft a jewelry ring, I think. And let's see, what's our weakest ring here? Probably the ruby ring. Make a 2-stone with fire and lightning.
May the grace of Prospero relieve you of your anguish and aid this soldier, so that you may guide their hands to success.
Old life, no chaos damage, so pretty dead ring.
What?
Sell this. Alright, let's keep going. Let's get an amulet. And that's all we need. And we'll get a lapis.
So that you may guide their hearts to glory.
That's actually not bad at all. Okay, not bad. Alright, so we have more links. Let's make another 5-link going here. 2, 3, 4, 5. Then do increased chance of. Let's do lightning. Any other fun stuff we can do? Not really. Plus one explicit. Armor and evasion, another full dragon scale.
May the grace of Prospero relieve you of your anguish and aid this soldier, so that you may house their valiant soul.
Life, lightning, not as good as this one, I'd say. Yeah. Yeah, we'll keep both of them just in case I can craft one over the other. And it's fun to keep 5 links. Alright, now we're going to do a spicy trick here. We have a bunch of caster modifiers we don't care about. So we'll do those, and drop in randomized corpses. Effect of demon corpses, scarcer lightning modifiers. We can do a fizz weapon now. And let's see. What else do we have? Any other fun crafting options? Nope, not really. Alright. Craft. Weapon. Sword. Probably a Picario. Pecoraro. I've never had to say that word out loud. The Legion Sword could be better, but it seems to have... Let's do the Picario.
May the shine of Solaris burn away your anguish and aid this soldier and become a weapon to cut the wicked!
Physical damage, attack speed. Crap item. I put too many explicits on it to get the phys damage roll. Selling an item that has 6 affixes, a rare with all 6 affixes filled, 3 prefixes, 3 suffixes, always gives you an augmentation orb. Actually one of the worst results you can come up with for speedruns. Alteration shards are better for identify scrolls, so there you go. Let's craft some boots. 1. So that's 2, 3. 3 socket boots, and we'll get some chaos res. Armor, boats, armor and evasion, hydroscale.
May the glow of Lunaris heal your pains and aid this soldier, so that you may grace them with fleetness!
Not good. Alright, Ender. And finally... we will store these corpses because they're not going to be used right now. In fact, we will have a... I'll make a new folder here. One problem with Necropolis is that holding coffins takes up so much inventory space that that's only been really interactable with people who have lots of stash tabs. So that's the thing. At the start of next stream we'll do some gearing, but for now, just want to end off on some crafting. And on that note, that's Act 8 and a little bit of Necropolis at the end. And now we have one more act to do, and Trial of Ascendancy. And we might even do maps. Our cold res is a little low. That's annoying. But that's for next time. Until then, have a good one.